So this is additional data that support our current approach in West Tampa to increase the income of residents that have been marginalized, residents that are experience poverty, residents that are having all kind of barriers to employment, residents that are simply having a hard time making it. Our program is called the Homebased E-commerce Initiative. This is our response. It's part of our overall wealth building initiative in West Tampa. So here's the research that we've gotten back related to what is the rate of job certification between the self-employed and the person that's employed. Again, the Home-Based E-commerce Initiative focuses on creating resident-owned businesses in low-income neighborhoods for low-income residents. So let's get away from that, because we talk a lot about how we're going to do that, and you can follow us. So let's talk about why it makes sense to want to be a person of color, that want to be a self-employed individual. Let's get started. So here's the research that we gathered from the Peer Research Center. As you know, I do a lot of research, and the research is based on different types of authorities, on different types of subjects. In this case, it's Peer Research Center. So the title is Self-Employed People in the United States are more likely than other workers to be highly satisfied with their job. Again, it makes sense to have your own business. So let's look at some research that tells us why that's the case. Okay, let me bring this down. Here we go. They say, now reading from this column right here, that most self-employed workers, that's 62%, say they are extremely or very satisfied with their job, compared to 51% of those who are not self-employed. They also express higher levels of enjoyment and fulfillment with their job. These are people that are self-employed. In turn, those who are not self-employed are more likely than self-employed workers to say that they find their job stressful and overwhelming. Some 48% of self-employed workers say their contribution at work or value a great deal, compared with 1/3 of those who are not self-employed. It gets worse. Let's continue. There are also important differences in when and where self-employed workers do their job. Listen, they say that 47% of self-employed workers say their job can be mostly done from home, compared to 38% of those who are not self-employed. Again, remember we talked about home-based e-commerce. You can do businesses from your home. Okay, also, 60% of self-employed workers with jobs that can be done from home say that they work from home all the time, compared to 30% of those who are not employed. Listen up. A large share of self-employed workers, that's 50%, 52%, than those who are not self-employed, and that's 28%, say they respond to emails or messages from work outside of the normal hours. Okay, let's continue on. So let's go back in. Let me look at these numbers right here. So these are the people that are self-employed versus not. In terms of those that enjoy their job, you got 65% compared to 50. In terms of those that find their job fulfilling, you got 65 compared to 47%. In terms of those that find that job stressful, 15% versus 29%. In terms of those that find that job overwhelming, that's 8 versus 19. Overall speaking, it's more healthy to have your own business, to be self-employed. I can't overemphasize why we made a big issue in West Tampa about residents having wealth and generational wealth. Now, let's continue on. So, let me basically read this first. Let's read this title. How the self-employed workforce differ from the U.S. workforce overall. Okay, here's what they're saying. About 50 million U.S. workers are self-employed, making up about 10% of the U.S. workforce, based on peer research. Roughly 3/4 of self-employed workers, that's 76%, work full-time, and 24% work part-time. And among all workers, 84% work full-time and 16% in terms of part-time. Self-employed workers are more likely than U.S. workers overall to be male and white. Let's look at what does it look like when we talk about the breakdown of who actually is a self-employed worker. Overwhelmingly, the self-employed worker is going to be a male. No, let's step back. When we break down, let's look at this right here. I went ahead of myself. Self-employed workers in the U.S. are more likely than workers overall to be male, white, and foreign-born. So now let's break down these numbers. In terms of Men, 64% of males are self-employed. In terms of female, 36% are self-employed. When we break down the race, 68% are white, 6% of self-employed, 6 or 8% are Black, 17% are Hispanic, and 6% are Asian. So I think that what this does, and the purpose of actually looking at this, is to give validity and urgency to the programs that we're rolling out in West Tampa that has to do with creating wealth. If we're going to deal with gentrification, slow it down, we have to begin to create wealth, generational wealth in the poorest of the community. And we have to equip the residents who are the poorest of the community with the skill sets and opportunity to start their own business. I think this becomes another way of dealing with gentrification combined with the ongoing crisis. We think self-employed, and I can attest to what self-employed means, because I work in corporate America a long time, for over 30 years. And when I got an opportunity to start my own business, to say the least, it takes on and makes you feel a different way. The self-wealth is all the way up there. And you don't mind working hard because you know you're working hard for yourself. And you know, because you're self-employed, that people that you work with value with you more than they value their employers. So I can't overemphasize the self-employed philosophy. Economic wealth, generational wealth. Now, this is part of our technology, wealth building, and job curation center. So I just want to leave by saying that, look, it feels better to own it because you get more respect from it.